Managerial accounting, a manufacturer's product costs. First of all, just a little review of last time. Remember, product costs are the cost of the asset inventory, probable future economic benefits. And then when that inventory is sold, its cost moves from the balance sheet inventory account to the expense cost of goods sold on the income statement. Now, first thing, as we start talking about the product cost, I want you to notice the general definition of a inventory cost, particularly the manufacturer's inventory cost, includes any ordinary and necessary cost incurred to get the product ready to sell. So that's our purpose. A manufacturer takes a raw resource and converts it into a completed product, which is then sold either to an intermediary, a wholesaler, or to the final customer. So we're talking about any ordinary and necessary cost incurred to get that product ready for its intended use, to be sold to the customer. Now, a manufacturer has three categories of product cost. The first category is materials. Now, materials are the ingredients or the parts required to make a finished product or a final product. The ingredients, the parts needed to make a finished product. So, for example, if we were baking a cake, we would need flour and sugar and eggs. Those are the ingredients that go into the finished product, the cake. This is the first, materials. The second type of product cost is labor. Now, labor, of course, refers to the wages that we pay to our employees. Now, for a manufacturer, those employees may be the assembly employees, the employees who actually take those materials and convert them into the finished product, or it may also be the salaries or wages of factory supervision. So in a few minutes, when we talk about direct versus indirect, we're going to see how these two costs of labor are classified differently in relation to the cost object, the product. So materials, one product cost; labor, a second product cost; the cost of the ingredients required to make the finished product; and the cost of the employees who assemble that final product, who convert the ingredients into the finished product. And then the third category of manufacturer product cost is called overhead. And specifically, we call it manufacturing overhead rather than just general overhead. Now, every business has overhead. Overhead are those general costs like the electricity, the gas to power and operate the machinery, rent, depreciation. Those types of things fall into the category of overhead. For a manufacturer, overhead is a little narrower than general business overhead. Overhead includes all other factory costs. Incurred in making that product. So a key way of distinguishing manufacturing overhead from general overhead is to look for the word factory or plant or manufacturing. So for example, we may have rent, and part of that building that we rent may be separated into a sales floor. Part may be isolated or separated for an office space, and the rest of that building may be the factory itself. So the portion of the rent that is associated with the factory would be factory or manufacturing overhead. The portion that's associated with the office space and the sales floor, those are period costs, selling and administrative expenses. So they go directly to the income statement. And remember from my previous video that product costs are accumulated in assets on the balance sheet. So a manufacturer's product costs are materials, labor, and overhead. All costs incurred in the factory to get the product ready to sell to the customer.